This meeting of the Council of Dads will come to order. Council Chair Andy Cole speaking to you now with my co-council chair, Cole Osborne. We're back with you for another week. Welcome back to you, Cole.
Thanks very much, Andy. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
It's nice to talk to you, but it is under sad circumstances that we're convening this week. I mean, it's always great to have a new episode of Council, but I imagine everyone listening to this is aware of some of the sad news we got this week. I opened up my Instagram feed. I had to find out on Instagram, and series creator Joan Rader had shared a little post from her blog, I think. And we learned that Council of Dads has not been picked up for a second season by NBC.
Yeah, it's pretty tough stuff. It's pretty devastating.
Yeah.
It's definitely affected my mood just in the rest of my life. You know, you mentioned that you found out via Instagram. That's almost a kindness versus the way that I had to find out. Just sort of flippant text messages from friends and coworkers.
Really?
Oh, hey, I heard that, I know you do that council thing and it's done. And I really wasn't braced for it, I guess.
Yeah. What a way to get the news. And I think sometimes people maybe they don't consider that, this is an important show. And it serves a lot of people. A lot of people really love it. Every week you tune in and it makes you happy. And now we're not able to do it anymore.
No, we can't. I don't really see a way forward without, this is a show talking about the show that we saw. And if there aren't any more shows to see, we're pretty much at an impasse. And I don't think people appreciate the work that goes into making one of these. We don't just talk for 20 or 25 minutes and then just spit it out. There's a lot of work done by you on the back end to make the magic happen.
A lot of editing comes into it. So many things. A lot of swear words I got to cut out, which it happens because we care. We're very passionate about the show, but I want things to remain fairly clean. Guest bookings, there's a lot of other people involved and you got to think of them too. Norm's been, I know he's, you're in touch with Norm a lot. He's been texting me quite a lot saying, when next is kind of just the thing he types to me a lot.
Yeah, of course he does. I think it was a pretty big thing for him to come on with us in the first place.
Yeah.
And then I think the thing that people overlook is the, how much we invest emotionally in this show, in this family, in these characters. I don't just watch it once and then come on to speak with you. I'll probably watch that episode 3, 4, 5 times. I'm taking notes every time. And I think about the family. I think about the Perrys. I think about Anthony, like they're real people. And I just in my own life, I wonder about them and how they're doing, even though, of course, the only time I get to see them is that hour a week.
It's sad to know that barring, divine intervention from a streaming service, these 10 episodes, there's one more to go. That'll be next week. It might be all we're left with at the end of this. And it's like losing a family member.
No, it's just, it's like losing your arm, and this was just something that it felt so special, and it felt like, we finally got in on the ground floor or something, and it felt like we were growing with the show, and now the rug's just been pulled right out, and anyways, that's obviously very, very, very difficult.
I feel, it's tough. I feel like I've been chewed up and spit out by the Hollywood system.
And with that, let us now jump into episode 9, Stormy Weather. So we start the episode. Luli is on her front porch. The weather is quite inclement, a lot of rain coming down. Luli's clearly frustrated. She's on the phone with the Savannah Gazette. She's trying to have them take down her blog post where she explained her relationship with the Council of Dads and that Anthony was in fact her father and Scott is not her father by blood, and she's getting pretty tense on the phone when she realizes, oh, that wasn't just published online. That was published in the actual physical newspaper as well.
Oh no! Yeah, and then she looks out. She looks out onto the sidewalk, and there is the day's edition, thankfully wrapped in a plastic bag, so the rain can't get to it. But she realizes, oh no, these have gone out all over town. Luli runs over, rips open the bag, rips open the newspaper, and finds her article, her letter, and there it is in newsprint. And then she's immediately stopped by some woman who comes up.
What are you doing? Oh, I just needed to check something. I live right here, and my mom lives here, and that's her paper.
And through this, we have this is an Ollie episode. Ollie is giving us the voiceover, and he's talking about a storm. And I mean, we understand it's obvious there is a storm bearing down upon Savannah, Georgia. It's rain, it's thunder. We know a hurricane is coming. The characters are discussing it in the scene, but savvy viewers will kind of pick up that there's another type of storm coming here, right?
Yeah, an emotional storm.
So in the next scene, we continue everybody being in storm mode. We have JJ looking nervous. He's trying to wake up Theo because he wants to go get his emergency bag. But JJ apparently is afraid of the basement. Here's another wrinkle to the JJ character. Doesn't like being in the basement. JJ thinks there's monsters down there.
No monsters down here. No, ma'am. No monsters down here. No, ma'am.
It's the small things with this actor, right? Like, it's pretty time tested, trod upon. Little boys afraid of the dark or afraid of monsters, but it's just the way JJ gets so much out of the script.
Yeah.
The layers, it's just the depth of the acting performance from someone so small. So then we jump to Anthony, who's in an extremely posh Las Vegas, well, more than a hotel room. Let's call it what it is. It's a luxury suite.
That's like a penthouse suite. Yeah, it is fantastic. The view. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All the trimmings there.
Yeah.
And but he doesn't really seem to be enjoying it. Mm-hmm. He looks forlorn. He's distant. He's avoiding Theo's phone calls.
Hey Anthony, it's Theo again. Why aren't you returning my messages, man?
And then on the TV, on the weather network that he's watching, we hear that the storm, which was already going to be pretty bad, it's not a storm, it's a hurricane, and it's headed straight for Savannah.
You see in Anthony's face in this scene, he's surrounded by everything he could want, and yet there is something missing inside. And when he hears them mention specifically no other city but Savannah, Georgia, he makes a decision right then and there.
You don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. And mostly you're just hoping it. But I'm thinking Hurricane Anthony's headed somewhere.
That takes us out of the cold open to the opening titles. And then we are dropped right back in Savannah. We're at the Perry house as the family is evacuating. They are running off to Ollie's. It's a little safer there. He's in a higher part of town. And of course, as we know, they live right by the river. And then this is shattered when JJ pipes up and mentions that Cowboy, the dog, who we all know and love, as soon as he said, "Where's Cowboy?" I thought, Cowboy, their dog. Oh no, Cowboy's missing. They can't find Cowboy.
Yeah, and once again, just to highlight another big JJ moment there he is doing the heavy lifting of the scene. He has to be the one to step up and say, whoa, let's not leave this house without a member of our family.
For me, while you see them all loading into the car, I'm noticing, like, I haven't seen Cowboy. Where is Cowboy in the car, right? Uh-huh. I mean, this is the family dog, guys. We see this dog all the time, and all of a sudden, the dog is not in the scene. it's pretty obvious something is missing, and it's yeah, you're right. It's I know they're under stress. Okay, I know they're under stress, but it stretches the imagination a bit to believe that one of the main components of the family is just they don't notice when they're not there.
So we're then whisked off to Dr. Oliver's plush home. The Perrys are arriving. There's a bit of tension, but generally you feel good because it's a safer house. It's a higher elevation.
Yeah.
There's a bit of relief, right?
Mm-hmm. Home base, they're safe.
Yeah, exactly. They're there. They're at the destination. They're safe. Everything's going to be okay now. You kind of exhale, and they drop it on you. We're here, but we're here without Cowboy. Robin says they looked for him for an hour, which I have to feel is pretty insufficient when we're talking about, again, to my mind, a family member.
Cowboy knows how to get to a safe place. That dog is smarter than all of us combined.
And on top of this, they're entering into Ollie's house where there's the weight of Sage. We'll remember from last episode, Robin diagnosed Sage with
Gerstmann-Straussler-Scheinker syndrome.
Gesundheit.
And Sage knows that condition will most likely be passed on to the son she's giving birth to, which will be Ollie and Peter Richards' son. And she hasn't told them. And Robin knows this, but Ollie and Peter are kind of in the dark, and Sage has been acting very aloof. So the Perry family and their troubles are entering into this.
So while we're dealing with all of that, JJ remembers, oh, you know what I probably did?
When I went to grab the flashlights, I was scared, so I brought Cowboy with me.
Did he come back up with you?
I don't know. I closed the door behind me when I came back up.
So he's stuck down there.
But what if the basement floods?
Hey.
And the basement, I'm going to be honest, just not a place you look when you're trying to find your dog.
No, not usually.
No, you check the backyard, you look in all the bedrooms, you don't call out the dog's name so it might bark back at you, and you definitely don't look in one of the rooms of the house.
Pretty much, you're hurrying. It's a borderline panic, right?
Yeah.
And you're dealing with a lot of other things. It's like you have to make decisions. It's probably, main floor upstairs. Okay.
Yep. That takes an hour.
It's easily an hour.
Yeah, that's where that hour went.
And then Theo makes his decision to head out into the hurricane.
Then we head upstairs where Robin is talking to Sage, and she finds out that Sage has not broken the news about her condition to Ollie and Peter Richards. And it's at that moment they realize that their phones aren't working all of a sudden, or there's no service. And Robin calls out. She hears Charlotte say there's no service. She calls out to Theo. Is your phone working? She doesn't hear anything. Goes downstairs, and I will tell you, JJ's good at a lot of things, but JJ's not good at keeping a secret.
JJ, where's Theo?
Spills the beans, says Theo has run back to the house to get Cowboy because they think they know where Cowboy is. And it's at this moment that Robin makes her decision to go out into the hurricane. Then, oh boy, are we in for another emotional one. There's a lot of this episode. Luli said, she wanted Larry to help her out at her place, kind of batten down the hatches, storm-proof the place, because her house is in a safe enough part of town. It's not going to flood, they don't think. But instead, we make a stop off at a different place. It is an apartment building, and it's where Larry's daughter and granddaughter live.
I told you on the phone. I'm good.
They just made the evacuations mandatory.
I know. We're going to the high school.
But then they happen to overhear a little something that the daughter says.
Honey, why don't you go get Eliza and make sure you bring extra food? Who's Eliza? Her guinea pig. Let me guess, she's named after Eliza in Hamilton? Yeah.
I mean, that's shrewd, right?
Incredibly shrewd.
Yeah.
You see your opening and you take it, right?
Yeah, it's smart. It's you know what? I wouldn't have picked up on that. I mean, I'm of the target age to know about Hamilton, and sure, I've heard some of the songs. I haven't got to see the show, but this extremely culturally aware 6-year-old girl naming her guinea pig after a character from Hamilton, and Luli being able to pick up on that. I mean, that is sharp.
And thank goodness for it too, right? Because the end result was such a nice thing. It's such a lovely thing for her to not have to for the daughter not to have to sleep on the floor of the high school gymnasium and to actually come and sleep in a pretty poshly renovated house.
How about my house? It's in Kyler Bondsville, and my husband's riding out the storm in Macon. Get Ivy and Eliza. Let's get off this island.
You know, and this is what the show does so well, because we've had moments like that. We all have in our lives where you are thinking quickly enough on your feet that you're just able to kind of pull it out at the last minute. You even surprise yourself sometimes.
Totally relatable. I can think back to a time when my wife and I were applying for a mortgage to buy our first home.
I know this story.
And yeah, of course, right? I probably tell this too much every time we get together. But
Please share it.
So we've been turned down 3 times for a mortgage by the big banks. It's always a no because our income level's very, very low. And now we're at a credit union. And it sort of feels like it's our last chance. The guy's looking at me like it's not really happening. I can kind of tell which way the wind's blowing. And then out of the corner of my eye on his desk, I see that he has a framed play card of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and it's autographed by Donny Osmond. Mm-hmm. And so I start kind of humming the song.
Yeah.
And he's picking up a little bit of what I'm doing, and I'm saying, how I love my coat of many colors. It was red and brown and green and yellow and orchid and black. And he's joining in with me. Violet and fawn and lilac and gold and chocolate and mauve and crimson and silver and azure and lemon. And by the time we got to the end, we're laughing, we're embracing. And I have to tell you, and you know this already, but I have to tell you, the audience, we got $55,000 more than we were asking for.
Wow. What a story. Yeah.
I just, and sometimes it's just those tiny little things. It doesn't have to be about a play, but in both instances it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, they're just really, really incredible about grabbing those real magical moments in life.
Yeah, no, for me too, I argue with my mom a lot. We have fights all the time over the phone, and I usually can say something that makes her shut up. And we're back at Ollie's house where things are getting so tense, and we hear a strange noise, a clunking noise, and Ollie turns around and he sees that Sage is coming down the steps, and she's trailing her rolling suitcase behind her.
What's that noise? What are you doing? Sage.
I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I'm sorry, you guys are great.
It looks like Sage has made her decision to go out into the hurricane.
And thank goodness, right at that moment, the power flickers and actually goes out, and they're able to kind of dissuade Sage from going out into the hurricane, which would have been a terrible idea for a 37-week someone carrying a baby for 37 weeks to walk into a hurricane with no plan. It was really fortunate that it worked out, and she ended up staying with Dr. Oliver for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it's you have to appreciate the weight that must be bearing down upon her that would just make her completely disregard the fact that she's could give birth at any minute and thinks that just kind of walking at the front door into a hurricane would be a better decision than at least staying in the house and just maybe being in that room by yourself for a night.
So then we leap back to the Perry house where Theo has gotten there safely. He's in the house. He's looking for Cowboy, and he does find him in the basement.
Oh, Cowboy! Cowboy, wait!
Looks like it's all going to be resolved happily. Cowboy swims out ahead, runs up the stairs. Looks like everything's going to be just perfect, except Theo's running up the middle of the stairs. He slips, and he hurts his ankle, and then somehow I guess underwater, his leg and ankle kind of float till they're between the rails of the staircase, and he and I got with the swelling of the broken ankle, it probably slipped through when it was not so swollen, but we know with broken ankles they swell up right away, and now he's lodged between them.
Yeah, anything can happen in the water. That's the thing. You got to be so careful. When that basement floods, there's no rules left. Part of me wanted, I know it's not that kind of show, but part of me wanted a Lassie kind of moment here, right? Because Cowboy is so important to the family, such a big part. You see him, at least 3 episodes this season, he's been there. And so you wonder, you're like, is Cowboy gonna find a way to save him, right? Is Theo Timmy down the well?
Yeah.
And spoiler alert for later in the episode, that's not how, that's not what happens. I had a flash of that for a second. I thought maybe it'll be that kind of show. It's okay that it's not, but it would have been nice to see.
It is always fun when the dog gets to be the hero.
Oh, I know.
The mind does wander there, right? And you are hoping for it, if he could have, done something within the realm of possibility for a dog.
Hold him up the stairs.
Yeah, or chew the wood until it breaks, or like I heard, dogs' mouths are very have healing powers that we don't even really understand. So if it somehow could have, anyways, that would be on the writers to figure out. But
pull him up the stairs, start the car. I've heard about dogs doing that. And maybe drive him at least part way back to Ollie's place, right? We don't know that Cowboy knows the way, but I can't imagine it's too far. It seemed to happen pretty quick that Theo got there.
Yeah, one or two turns, right?
Yeah. I'm just picturing Cowboy kind of driving the car. Would be kind of fun. Could you imagine? Now, here's what I'm thinking, okay? And I get that it's a storm. Say that maybe it was another time when there wasn't a storm, but we've still got Cowboy driving the car. Theo can be there. Maybe he's injured or not. But you just picture Cowboy driving around, Savannah. Where does Cowboy like to go? Do we go to the Crab Shack? Is Cowboy allowed people food? Do they give him, a little bit of food off the table and then he drives off somewhere else? Or you think of the dog maybe a dog at a drive-through. I mean, this would be kind of funny.
Drive-through would be really good.
Yeah.
And what would the look on the clerk's face be like, when she gets handed a $20 bill by a little dog?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's your cheeseburger combo, sir. Like they knew the dog went, it barked at the drive-through, and they just kind of were like, oh, maybe maybe they're Spanish. I can't understand what they're saying, and they just give them something, right? And then it's a dog, and boy, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd like even a show just where they kind of do stuff like that.
Well, we're gonna need something else, right?
I guess, yeah. Maybe that's why my mind's wandering onto these things that the further adventures some of the characters could have, because I think there's people worth following and. If Cowboy's not one of the characters we want to follow, I don't think you've been watching this show.
So now we're into the scene where Sage she's right in labor. She's in the bathtub. Dr. Oliver's helping her, and she in her way, she's helping Dr. Oliver too. Because she's telling him to breathe and trying to talk through her issues surrounding giving up the kid, how complicated it is now. And I really got to feel like things are looking pretty good for Dr. Oliver, because I think I don't know this for a certainty, but I think if you are the doctor that births the child and it's in your own residence, I think you have some type of paternal rights at that point.
Yeah. It's I would have to look and be sure that Georgia is one of those states, but yeah, there are. I know most of the country's baby claim states where if it's birthed in your house, you can make an argument for sure. I think it's mostly in the South, that there's house rights, baby rights, basically.
At that point, there'd for sure be a court case, right? Because the rights wouldn't be entirely to the mother.
No, because you did that in that house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's I know there's precedent. I couldn't name the case off the top of my head, but my house. Well, I know. I think it was a movie called My House, My Baby that was about that. We flash over to the Perry house where Robin, thankfully, is rolling up. So we know that Theo is going to be okay, hopefully, because he's trapped down there on the stairs, but at least Robin is there. She finds him and realizes, his ankle is busted up pretty bad. It's swollen. He can't get it out between, in the railing of the stairs.
I think I can get your leg free with this bat. All right. Brace your other foot right here. We're going to be okay. I'm going to count to 3, all right? 1, 2, 3.
So Robin and Theo, they get out of the house. They make a break for the car, and she's trying to get Theo in. Obviously, his ankle is causing some problems, and they start arguing again. And just about Theo kind of feeling like he's not really a part of the family so much. Maybe Robin doesn't care about him as much.
I know I'm not special. I'm just average and dumb. I'm not trans or adopted or whatever's going on with Lily. You won't tell any of us.
Yeah, those lines that really knocked me on my butt, and it was right then that I realized how much I identify with Jules. Yeah. Actually, I have this love for this thing that's, I guess kind of clunky, not especially well liked. Nothing about it really stands out. If Theo received ratings, they'd probably be like the ratings that this thing that me and you have put a lot of dedication and effort into. But you know what I identify with? I still love it.
We then go back to Luli's. They have all ventured out into the hurricane, but ended up at their house safely. And they've sort of put on a little bit of a potluck, I guess, for the neighborhood. So it's nice to see everybody there. But also Lauren, Larry's daughter, is talking to Luli. And they go off to a quieter room because Luli is really pressing Lauren on what went so wrong with her relationship with Larry.
When he drove into a tree with the whole family in the car. That's when my mom and my brother bailed.
He was probably drunk.
Well, we remember he was saying, in the previous episode, I was angry all the time. And you got to wonder what that tree must have done to him.
Yeah, was he seeking some type of vindication from the tree?
Yeah.
Right? And because, when you're inebriated, I don't know if you ever are, but there's these perceived slights that seem bigger than they are, and in the light of day, and when you're sober, it's not so bad. But you can sort of picture, Larry in an alcoholic haze, thinking, wrongly thinking, but thinking that the tree is diminishing him, or has been the one that's been forcing him to drink by having some type of vendetta against him in the past.
Is the tree what's holding me back a lot of times? I know people will blame things on trees.
Right.
Because it's easy to. It's very easy, and I can't really blame people for doing so, but a lot of times people will project sort of their failings or, what might be holding them back onto a tree. Because, if you kind of squint and if it's dark out, it does look like a tree is taunting you.
Yeah, the branches look like arms, and the way it moves, the sort of way that it sways, it just seem sort of cavalier and loose, and you're feeling the opposite. You're very tense because you're going through a bad time in your life, so I think everyone's been through it, but you just want to smash the tree, right?
Yeah, the tree it's daring you to confront it. Trees, they are masters of provocation, if nothing else. The noise that the leaves make, and the wind is blowing through them. A lot of the times, I have to check myself.
It sounds like a cackle.
Yeah, and say it's just a tree. Let it go. Most of the time I can. Most of the time I walk right by. And at this moment, the camera kind of slides out to the hallway, and we realize that Larry's been overhearing this. There's a lot of things I find Larry learns via overhearing.
And he wears it so much in his old man face. It's hard. It's hard to look at it.
Robin and Theo are getting ready to back out of the driveway. The weight of Anthony's secret that he kept from them is still in the car, with Theo finding out. And all of a sudden, as they're just about to pull out and be safe, drive back to Ollie's, boom.
Yeah, big surprise. a tree falls on them.
A tree, of course.
Tree breaks their car window.
Yeah.
A tree makes it so that they don't even feel like they can get away. They don't even know what to do. Maybe they'll just drown in their car thanks to the tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was going to be fine. And then a tree happened across the driveway. And that was enough for me. I mean, we talked about it. I don't mean to get heated. I'm not going to go out and drive into one. But here we are again. Has this family not been through enough? And then we got to deal with one more tree in here.
Yeah. And in that moment, you can kind of go to Larry's mindset, right?
Yeah.
You can think of what it was then to just be a guy that's had enough.
Yeah.
Have you been drinking vodka all day? Probably. Is it the right move when your entire family's in the car? Probably not.
Yeah.
But you just fed up with trees.
Yep.
And so you do what you can, which is use violence, use what's there for you. And in that moment, that's your car. And you use it to take back something that's been taken from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like, you see examples like that and you're like, this is why people drive into trees in the first place.
Yeah.
You hit the tree or the tree hits you. God, this country.
Oh, I wanted to say, too, that Anthony comes back and saves everyone.